Hey everyone, welcome back to the Daily Blend Show. This is the weekly rundown for the week of July 24th, 2023. I am your host, Reed Dailey. If you are new around here, the weekly rundown is where I feature things that are going on around the globe, super broad there, and things that are going on in and around Dailey Blend, the different channels and projects, as well as what I am doing outside of Dailey Blend as a sole contributor to fun projects, as well as collaborations with friends, etc., etc. Before we jump into this week's episode, I want to remind you that we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, YouTube. You can, of course, check us out on daileyblend.com and find us on Twitter and Instagram. We haven't signed up for Threads. However, it is on my to-do list to do today. Let me know in the comments what you think about Threads and if you are using it. All right, let's jump into the show. So we always go through some sort of down period right after the NBA Finals, in my opinion. There's just not a ton of sports on TV in that sort of end of June, early July period. I always think that, you see a lot of like youth baseball on ESPN, and I'm always clamoring for sports. And so I am thrilled that Lionel Messi signed with Inter Miami Athletic Club. If you have been living under a rock, Lionel Messi is arguably the best player in the game and probably arguably the best player ever. He signed with David Beckham's Miami team. His debut had crazy records for the MLS and soccer, and it's given me something that I am very excited about, which is a little more life in the MLS. Not that the MLS was doing bad. In fact, the product just continues to get better. Two kind of topics with Messi, though. The first is I was going to subscribe to the MLS season pass so I could watch the Messi game, and I was given two options. One was buy the single game pack for $14 or buy the remainder of the season, which I think is like over 100, maybe even 200 games between MLS, regular season, the cup that they're doing now with the different interleague plays, as well as the playoffs and all of the sort of added bonus of their flavor of, ESPN. And my wife was actually looking, it was the Apple TV is under her email, and she said, hold on just a second. Mine says it's $12 and only $39, where mine was saying $49 for the season pass. So I did not know that we were already doing A/B testing on price tiering based on geo or based on individual. So I'd be kind of curious, just from a data perspective, why I received a different promotion than my wife by $2 for a single game and $10 for the regular season. Anyway, for the fact that, you can get a league pass for half the season for $40, and I assume it was probably something like 100 or 120 for all of that content, it just seems like a no-brainer if you're a huge sports fan to start cutting the cord and start just going directly to those different, leagues that you like, i.e. Major League Baseball, NBA season ticket, NFL season ticket, MLS season ticket. I mean, if you added them all up, if you were going to watch, let's say, soccer, football, baseball, basketball, I'm sure it would be like $500. But I also compare that to, going to a sports bar 4 or 5 times throughout a year with friends. You're easily going to spend, $75 to $100 when you think about like 1 or 2 beers, appetizer, main course, and tip. So it's like, okay, I can spend a few bucks and have it directly ported to my house. Gives me something else to watch. It's always fresh, et cetera, et cetera. I said with Messi, though, there were 2 topics. So we've got a first world problem here. The jerseys are fantastic. They've totally gone into, embracing the Miami look. They have a pink jersey with black accents and a black jersey with pink accents. I really want the pink jersey, but I think I'm going to grab the black jersey just because, I can wear it a few more places. Let me know in the comments which one you think is best and which one you are getting. So I'm going to jump from talking about, you know, one team's jersey to the next. And as we get ready for English Premier League, and it just feels like we just wrapped up Champions League, so it's crazy that those guys only get like 6 or 8 weeks of break between the end of the season and preseason. But my team is Manchester City. Thanks to my brother, I got into them a few years ago, and their third jersey. So if you're less familiar with EPL, they have a home kit, an away kit, and a third jersey. And the third jersey typically is a little less on brand and more just random fun. And in true fashion, this year, Man City is doing, I don't know, like blue lightning bolts on the jersey. And I already looked it up, and I can get the long sleeve one. So I'm going to get the number 10 for my new favorite player, whose name I'm totally blanking while I'm recording this. But you got to look him up. He was crazy when they won the Champions League and had basically a 1 or 2 day bender and was just hysterical. So if you're trying to get into either the MLS or EPL, go buy a jersey, and I think you're going to have a ton of fun with it. All right, so let's jump from talking about sports and jump into talking about some music. So I mentioned, it's been a little bit since we've put out a weekly rundown. Sorry again, just been on the road and been busy. But we've been putting out some music on Dailey Blend and a couple different Music Monday features that I wanted to talk about. So the more recent one was the Nation of Languages, and we actually featured them a couple years back, and they just consistently hit my friend group's text message chain. I've got about 5 friends that only send music around. Basically, if you send anything but music, you get 0 responses. And they're like a new wave punk sound, just a good band to kind of put on mid-morning or kind of early afternoon when you're sitting out on the weekend, grilling and just hanging by the pool. The other band or group, I guess, would be called Circle Around the Sun. And one of the folks in the band was actually the son of the drummer one of the drummers from the Grateful Dead, and really just super jammy, love it, good rock music. I put it on the weekends just when I'm sitting around watching soccer or sports or just hanging around outside. Similar kind of selection mode in terms of the Nation of Languages, but maybe just a little more down-tempo. And then it's not necessarily a band, but we featured Jen Getz and Alfie a couple weeks back on the Friday Top 5 of just DJs and music that we're liking, and they've got a couple singles coming out, and so we put them on the Music Monday feature, and really just loving the fact that they've got these 2 gals crushing it in Dubai as a DJ duo and putting out music, so kudos to Jen and Alfie. If you go to Dailey Blend, you can obviously look them up and you can find the Music Monday post. You can also find the post from a couple weeks back on Friday Top 5 where we featured them along with A-Track, Diplo, and others. From projects outside of Dailey Blend, we've got Drink with Greg up and running. We still got some kinks to iron out, but this is my project with my buddy Greg Larson. We've got a web store, rocking and rolling. We're using a third-party fulfillment organization, which just means we can showcase a variety of different spirits, beers, wines, you name it, and then it can get fulfilled in almost all of or the majority of the states around the country, thanks to their distribution network. And it's turning out to be a great partnership thus far. So go check out drinkwithgreg.com. We'll be putting out podcast content on that show besides Negronis with Greg. And speaking of Negronis with Greg, we have episode number 6 up on the website and on Spotify. You can also be on the lookout for episode number 7, which is coming out later this week. And in terms of content on Drink with Greg, we've been pushing this wine series more recently of wines under $15. This was largely a result of me overspending on wines and getting a little frustrated. Not that, you don't get what you pay for, but I think if you spend a little bit of time doing some digging, you actually can find some great bottles sub $15. And that's what I've been walking through. We're 2 weeks into that based on the collection that I grabbed from the local wine store. I think we've got probably another 6 weeks of that. Always looking for recommendations. So hit me up on Twitter and Instagram with your wine of the week recommendations or any vineyards that you've checked out. Anywhere around the globe. We've just done a bunch of Italian wines, and that's mostly just a result of what I'm into recently, but happy to jump into French wines, American wines, you name it. And in terms of what else is going on, we are working on a few new mixes. We've got episode 150 in the works for the Dailey Blend podcast. That is my house music podcast. We are prepping for some Sunday sessions that are coming up, just really getting a bunch of new music organized and kind of tagged and ready to go. And as soon as we get kind of through those two different projects, we'll be putting out a summer mix under the Read Daily banner. So that's just kind of more of like my, summer series that I've been doing. I've done a couple poolside mixes over the last couple of years. And so we'll be doing sort of a down-tempo, chill-out, sit by the pool mix. Speaking of mixes, part of all of this is I like to tinker with controllers. I'm using right now the Zone K2. It's a 4-channel controller. It does have a sound card in the version 2. And I'm using a mapping from Digital DJ Tip or DJ, what is it? DJ Tools? Yeah. Or is it just djtools.com? Anyway, it's a really good mapping, but I'm always looking for other ones. And for those that have used the K2, if anyone can hit me up with how to switch within the different segments of K2, I think there's different layers. I can't figure out how to do that. So that would be great if someone can show me a YouTube video for that. I will say I am impressed with all of the capabilities that Tractor has with mapping. You can do all sorts of stuff with the on-offs, toggles, switches, colors. It's pretty great. I could see a few different upgrades coming to the K2 in terms of if they could add maybe like a little screen in there, and also maybe going to more colors or different color varietals. But overall, that thing is a workhorse beast, and I'm so glad that after years I finally settled to get it. With that said, I'm doing a lot of with that said. I know that. I think this is my third one. I've been, looking at all of my DJ gear, and I've got a ton of it, and I think I'm just going to sell a bunch of it, and I'm debating between the DJM RX3 and the Rev 7. So the key difference is the RX3 is a standalone unit that has a touchscreen on it, so it mimics, CDJ 3000s and their core mixer. And you can stick a USB in, or you can use Serato Pro, also owned by Alpha Beta or Alpha Theta, whatever Pioneer's parent company is. Or I can go with the Rev 7, which needs a laptop and hooks to it hooks to Serato. And it mimics 2 turntables and a mixer. It's got a battle-style mixer. I did a review of it for DJ Life Mag. I loved the Rev 7. It was like one of the most fun controllers I've ever used. But I'm also staring at a screen all the time, so the fact that I might not need to have a laptop is very appealing to me. So I'm sort of leaning to the DJM RX3 because I've got the mixer and turntable set up already in my basement, so it's kind of like duplicative. But love to hear your thoughts in the comments or on Twitter of which one I should go with, the DJM RX3 or the Rev 7. Actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm going to try to do 2 different things. I'm going to do the exact same polling on Instagram stories versus Twitter and see what the voting outcome happens, and I'll publish that on the show next week, or and I'll put the results on Instagram stories or something like that. All right, that wraps it up for this week's episode of the Weekly Rundown. I am headed out to Utah right after I record this for a quick 24-hour trip. I will be back on Friday with the Friday Top 5. Be on the lookout for content coming out from Drink with Greg. Thanks to a very long cab and airplane flight, I will be able to knock out a few of those things. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, YouTube, etc., etc. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ReadDaily. And with that said, enjoy your Wednesday and talk to you on Friday on the show.